What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here and welcome back to another one of my videos. Today we have a breaking and emerging news story coming right out of Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. This time we are talking about Top Thrill Dragster, the Intamin Stratocoaster that opened up in 2003 and has had a pretty uncertain future for the past few months. If you don't know, last year on August 15th, a woman was severely injured in the queue of the ride waiting because a piece of debris fell off of the ride and hit her in the back. The ride shut down indefinitely on August 15th and has had no riders ever since. That was the last rides it gave for the 2021 season, and there was a lot of hope for the ride to reopen this year. But the breaking news story today is talking about that. Tony Clark, the spokesman for Cedar Point, after a recent report came out, confirmed that Top Thrill Dragster will not be opening for the 2022 season. Now this brings up a lot of red flags, and today we are going to talk about that. First of all, I want to give a shout out to WNY Coasters, which went in on a lot of the technicality aspects of this, but today, I want to talk about more of the past and the future, more of the business aspect. So, this is Cedar Flags, and today, we are going to talk about the future of Top Thrill Dragster. Could it close forever? Well, let's talk about it. So, before we get into the future and some predictions, let's talk about the past. Top Thrill Dragster opened up in the spring of 2003 to many rave reviews, but ever since then, Top Thrill Dragster has been plagued with some absolutely horrible downtime and some pretty bad malfunctions throughout the years. This one obviously being the nail in the coffin. Anyways, the ride has suffered severe downtime, and anyone that's been to Cedar Point can tell you that. There are rides out there that have really good operations, some rides that have a little bit of downtime, some rides that have a lot of downtime, and then there's Top Thrill Dragster, which brings the downtime competition to a whole new level, if you want to call it that. A 30-minute line could usually last about an hour and 30 minutes because of all of the downtime. This ride has over 25,000 different components within its hydraulic launches and magnetic sensors, which makes this ride, let's say at the least, a little complicated. And there will be so many times that this ride will have an error with at least one of the sensors, and once that happens, well, the whole ride's going to go down due to safety concerns. And a malfunction can last from either a few minutes to the rest of the day, and it can be a major disappointment for the park. With the added downtime, plus all of the different components of the ride, plus all of the mechanics, it's safe to say that this ride takes away more money than puts money in Cedar Point's bank account. And the reason they keep this ride in general is because, well, the general public as well as enthusiasts absolutely love this ride. It is the second tallest coaster in the world after all. So if the ride has been plagued with problems all of this time, why are we especially talking about it now? Well, this incident that happened on August 15, 2021 was not just your average incident. This was a major injury that's going to change the lives of many people. Now, I'm going to get into speculation a little bit with this video. This is not confirmed whatsoever, this is just my personal opinion. But in my personal opinion, this ride did not close because it couldn't run after the incident. I truly believe that this accident is a straw that broke the camel's back. Let me explain. It is no secret that Cedar Point staff have been trying to close this ride ever since the ride opened up. Dick Hinsel himself said that this was the worst decision that he made within his career at Cedar Point, and many people would agree. In fact, it's one of the only rides in the whole park that they regretted building in the end. He publicly mentioned that this ride is losing more money than it is gaining, so the staff as well as the park management really do not like this ride from a business standpoint. Now from a ride standpoint, they love it, and that's why they didn't just tear it down initially. The fans love this thing, and that is no secret whatsoever. I believe they wanted to keep the ride open as long as possible, before they would have to close it for an indefinite amount of time. But they were waiting for something big, something massive that would rock the coaster world, and something that could possibly lead to the end of this ride. And that came on August 15th, when a major accident happened at Cedar Point with the Top Thrill Dragster ride. After this, they decided, you know what, this was another big problem plagued with many other incidents, and we are going to close this ride indefinitely for the time being. I'm not saying permanently, but I guarantee that they really wanted to look at this ride after one more major accident. I truly believe if something like this happened on Millennium Force or Gatekeeper or whatnot, the ride would probably reopen within the next month. Look at Steel Vengeance in the hot sauce incident. Heck, someone died looking for something on Raptor. And while they definitely want to get to the bottom of the incident itself, I believe there is a much bigger issue: the overall fate of the ride itself. This isn't the only issue that's happened, and that's obviously no secret. This ride just continues to have downtime. After almost 20 years of operation, it still runs terribly. So why do I say this? Why do I speculate this? Well, Cedar Fair has done this before. Look at Son of Beast at Kings Island. Now before you panic, I'm not saying that Top Thrill Dragster is closing, we're gonna get to that. But what I'm saying is, they wanted to wait for one more accident after a massive plague of accidents to close down the ride indefinitely. Despite this, the park continued to do safety checks on the ride and kept it open with safe conditions. Unfortunately, that was until 2009, when a woman was injured from suffering a hemorrhage. She reported it to the park, and ever since then, they closed down the ride. They wanted to put it under further investigation because this was another straw that broke the camel's back. They did that, and unfortunately, after many routine checks, they couldn't save the ride, and in 2012, they knocked the ride down after sitting dormant for 3 years. So, what is going to happen to the future of Top Thrill Dragster? Well, I've come up with some possibilities and some further predictions. Let's get right into it. Now listen, I have told some predictions that I wasn't sure about, but these are one of the few predictions I could predict with 100% certainty. Top Thrill Dragster will never be the same. Now Cedar Fair has opened rides indefinitely with major incidents, but that was after a major routine makeover. In fact, this is what they were going to do with Volcano the Blast Coaster, until they realized that repairs would cost way too much, and they would have to take a significant amount out of the mountain to repair the ride. It was so complicated that they decided eventually to remove it. Now, at Top Thrill Dragster, fortunately, this isn't located inside an artificial mountain, but there is a completely new challenge to face. All of the sensors, the queue, something to prevent something major from happening whatsoever. Now, of course, they could do something within the queue. They could add metal detectors and have a similar design like Steel Vengeance, and they could also affect the ride's design as well. With all of the complicated components and the modern technology of LSMs, I could see them converting the ride's launch system to an LSM launch. Now let me say, I feel like this would not be good whatsoever. I feel like many people would absolutely hate this. And why is that? Well, the launch is known for being extremely forceful because, well, of that hydraulic technology. Sure, it could still implement it with LSMs, but it just won't be the same. That LSM launch is nowhere near the gut-wrenching power of a hydraulic launch. Okay, I know why you clicked on this video. Because there is a good possibility that this could be the end of Top Thrill Dragster. And I want to talk about that right now because, let me be 100% honest, and let me be clear, I think this is a very, very big possibility. Now, I love to be a glass half full person, especially when it comes to roller coaster predictions. In fact, some people have poked fun at me for being a little too optimistic with some of my predictions, especially when I thought a polar coaster was coming to Cedar Point. But I'm going to be a little pessimistic here, and I apologize for that. Let's look at some other Cedar Fair roller coasters. Volcano the Blast Coaster in 2018 was announced to be closed indefinitely until repairs were done. And then, out of the blue, the ride was going to be closed forever. Space Spiral in 2012 at Cedar Point, though not a coaster, was a very popular and loved flat ride. It was boarded up in late 2012 during Disaster Transport's destruction. Said it was going to reopen, but it never did. The ride came down right next to Disaster Transport. Son of Beast, the aforementioned ride I mentioned earlier, they said that this ride was going to eventually reopen, but not after the 2010 season. Then they said the ride was going to be closed for 2011, then 2012. And by then, people were guessing that the ride was going to close. And they were right. Top Thrill Dragster, they just said that they were going to close this ride for a short period of time. But a short period of time has become months, and now it's going to be well over a year. If the timeline is right and history decides to repeat itself, it is very well that this ride has seen its final riders. Because if Cedar Fair repeats what they have done in the past, it is 100% certain that this ride will close. My personal predictions, I'm going to be honest, I'm currently leaning more towards that this ride is going to close. I really hope they could do something to remedy the ride, especially if it still has the hydraulic launch, but this ride definitely has a very uncertain future. I hope and pray that this ride remains open because it is an absolute icon at the park and, well, the park's centerpiece. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about Dragster. This is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.